All this computer hacking is making me thirsty.
All I wanna do is drink beer for breakfast.
Suds and Security.
All I wanna eat is them barbecue chips. All I want is someone just to try to protect us.
Ready?
Do your thing.
All right.
It's time for Suds and Security. From beautiful downtown Fort Myers, we'd like to welcome you into the Rocket Lounge.
Hell yeah.
I mean, this is awesome.
This place is the shiznit.
It rockets. I mean, this is cool.
So they're sponsoring our podcast today, our Suds and Security podcast. So the Rocket Lounge, you got to come check it out, right? If you haven't been here, you come down to beautiful downtown Fort Myers.
Beautiful First
Check out
Street and Henry Street.
The
And,
only, and I would say just about the only startup incubator in Southwest Florida.
That's cool.
Right? I mean, we have accelerators, we have other things, but we have here the only startup incubator in Southwest Florida,
Yeah,
and they're
that's
doing
cool.
a kick-ass job with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
and Peter
it's
was good
awesome.
enough to sponsor the beer for us. And what do you have this time?
This Imperial Stout with sour cherries.
With sour cherries.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, let me taste it. Blue
Well,
Point. Wait a minute before I taste it. Let me see.
Long Island.
Alcohol.
9.2.
Oh, so we've gone up a little bit. We're creeping up. Okay,
Yeah,
well, let's
wait
see.
till the next one, because I know what the next one is. I've had it before, and is it this size too? Is
That's
it this
very
size?
good.
Is it a pint?
Can you next time can you get them bigger? Can you get them bigger next time? These are kind of small.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
That's good stuff.
Fantastic. Love it. So what are we going to talk about today?
So since today we are in a startup facility, we are going to talk about securing your startup,
makes
right?
sense.
So,
Yeah,
well,
makes
I think we got to. I think that, part of our market is small and medium-sized enterprises, right? So a startup is no different, and you actually have a good opportunity, I think, when you start up a business to kind of start off with the right foot of security, right? So you can kind of do things right from the beginning, so you're not going back and trying to patch it at the end, which makes it difficult, right? Right? Say enough. So before we get started, though, I got to say a shout out.
Wait a minute. All right, go
I'm
ahead.
going to say shout out to Brett and Henry.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Brett and Henry, we love
So
them.
I know you guys don't know who Brett and Henry are, but trust me, they're watching. So everybody say hi, Brett and Henry. Thank you. I appreciate
That was awesome.
That
Thanks for
was
doing that. They're all eating pizza and drinking beer. They don't care about Brett.
Yeah.
and
So
Henry.
when they
we
see
care.
that-
We love you, Brett. We love you, Henry.
Yes. So they'll get a kick out of that. So, how many times have you heard that? I don't know if you can read that. Maybe you can read it on my computer. I'm not really too concerned about hackers getting into my computer. There's nothing on there they would want
Every
anyways.
single municipality that we ever go to talk about cybersecurity, except
amazing
for the
to me.
city of Fort Myers and Lee County and whoever else.
Way
is
to cover
listening.
your ass, whatever,
right?
but-
Yeah, everybody says, but our stuff is all public. We don't have anything anybody would want.
Yeah, and when I hear this all the time, that's how I feel like doing it. I'm like sticking my hand through my face.
Yeah, don't get that graphic.
Well, it's there. I thought it was cool. I don't know, you know, but
I think you were wrong.
there are so many things that an attacker or a hacker can do with your computer if it's just connected to the internet. So I can't take credit for this next graphic. This was Brian Krebs did this from Krebs on Security. He's awesome. These are all the things that a hacked PC can be used for, and I'm not going to read them all, but it's a shit ton, right? DDoS is a big one, right? So it's not even just hack computers. Everybody heard about the large denial of service attack against
I heard about it. We felt
OVH,
it, right? Yeah.
OHV, or
Yeah.
against all those guys. Yeah, that was done with hacked DVRs, which are just computers, right? Hosting malware, hosting wares, hosting illegal content, right? So anybody hear what happened to Gene Simmons? So
Great story.
This is I'm. No, but and this is I'm paraphrasing here. I don't.
We
quote
got
me
a
on
chair
the-
right
on
here
the
if you wanna
exact-
sit here.
Yes, yeah, you can come. But what happened with Gene Simmons was the Los Angeles Police Department served a warrant on his house and was going to arrest Mr. Simmons because he was hosting child porn off his computer. He says, I wasn't even in town, man. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So they did a little research. Obviously, he wasn't there. There was no one there, but someone had hacked into his Wi-Fi and popped his computer and was using his computer to serve illicit content, right? So there's a lot of things people can do to with a computer. So you as a startup company are things you have to think of. I think the worst thing you could probably ever want to do as a startup is have someone go into Google and say Southwest Florida data breach and have your company popped up and I won't tell you what company does, but there is one that does.
It should be two.
Unfortunately, it's one. But that you don't want that, right? That's as a startup, that's a killer for your brand, right? Who wants to do business with someone who's going to lose your data, right? I don't. I mean, that's kind of the death knell. So, to me, you have to do things that aren't fun, right?
Well, I think really too, it starts at the beginning, right? I mean, this is something when we started our companies, this is kind of the business we're in, so we understand a little bit better. But you have to factor cybersecurity into your business plan, right from the beginning, and you have to take into account that it's really not free.
It's not.
I mean, you can be the smartest guy or girl in the world about cybersecurity. Nobody knows everything. So
yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Peter.
true. I'm sorry.
I'm doing that because of Greg, and I'm smarter than Greg.
I know you are. I'm the dumbest guy in the room, and I like it that
Typically,
way.
when it's you and
the monsters really look like people, and that's the God's honest truth when it comes to people who want to get your data and want to get it in the organization. These people, they're relentless. They're going to try all the time, and if you have the next best thing in your startup, you may have a piece of intellectual property that is what the basis of your business is, right? So if that gets out, what does that do? Look what happened to Yahoo, right? So Yahoo is going to cease to exist after their data breach, right? They lost $2 billion in valuation, I believe.
Well, how much of our data did they lose? Everybody, right?
They lost
every
it all.
American
They lost
times
it all.
4, I think, is what
it's
they
a billion
lost.
records,
Yeah.
the biggest data breach in history. They're not a startup, but just think of that scale for your startup, right? So if part of your job, and everybody has data. Your startup, no matter what you do, you're collecting data of some kind, right? Either whether it's customer data, whether it's your employees' data, financial data, again, intellectual property, all that stuff.
Or maybe you're a subcontractor to a larger organization, right?
Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, we are? I was just guessing. Okay.
So how do you fight it?
Uh-oh.
Right? So the first thing you have to do is you got to educate yourself, right? I know I put that up there, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't agree with what she did. So, so you got to get educated, right? You have to go online and search and figure out the things you have to do. I can tell you that the first thing you need to do as your startup is you have to have a group of policies, right? Policies suck. No one likes to write policies. No one likes to read policies. But you cannot govern a security program in your company without having a set of policies and procedures to guide yourself by, right? And this doesn't mean, like, what do most people do with their policies?
Put them in the drawer and don't read them.
Don't read them. Go to Google, find the.
Oh, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, of course, download them. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Change the name, protect the innocent. Microsoft, replace with CPR tools.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can't do that. You really, when it comes to security policies, you really have to find what works for your business. It's not the same for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter thing, and it's not fun to do.
Oh, I was supposed to say don't do that?
Yeah, you're not
I apologize.
supposed to.
Okay.
I know, but everybody does that, right?
My mistake.
Everybody says, I'll just download this policy book and then mass copy replace, company A with my company, and away we go. Peter has another question, and I'm going to mic him in.
He's full of
I love
questions.
I'm glad he has questions.
Yeah,
you know?
Nobody else does.
Everybody else
you
should
need to
be
ask a
asking
question.
questions, especially when you're talking about this one. So most of the startups, basically their servers are in the cloud. So they are assuming that the hosting company, the AWS, whatever, have that kind of policy
You'd be
already
assuming-
structured into it.
You'd be assuming wrong.
Well, but that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that the startups are assuming
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
if I'm using that or this or whatever cloud it is,
Right, so-
then all those are already taken care of. So what should the startups do so that those policies are not just written words, but actually practiced policies?
Yeah, they need to talk to someone like us, or it doesn't have to be us, but someone they got to get educated, right? That's the big thing. And anybody who says that just because their data is in the cloud, they think they're covered is wrong. I'm going to ask you then, what's your incident response plan? So when you get hacked, what are you going to do? If it means you're going to run around with your hands in the air and say, "Oh shit," that's the wrong answer to that question, right?
Didn't we just read about a large company today that over in Israel that got hacked and their stuff was in the cloud?
So 900 gigabytes of data from customers. It's a company called Cellbrite in Israel, right? So they do cell phone forensics, and they were hacked. So, and just because it's in the cloud doesn't mean that you're not responsible. You're just renting space from a server. It doesn't mean that you're not responsible for that data.
And it doesn't
right?
mean that they're securing it the right way.
Yeah.
So you have to find out. You have to talk to them, and you have
I can configure
be a smart shopper.
Yeah, we can configure AWS to not be secure very easily, right? I mean, there's policies and things to do, but understanding that pyramid of security, that when we talk about what you have to do first. The top part of that is policies, and then the very bottom comes into controls and testing those controls, right? So before you go out and buy that fancy new firewall and the antivirus and think you're good to go, you need to understand, again, where are my risks at? Where are my crown jewels? What are the things that if they got out to the public or they got into the hands of a hacker, that would be detrimental to my business? So you have to be able to identify those things, and you write your policies around that, right? So that I think is key.
So
and
are these companies are recommending this, or you need to figure out on your own, or you need
I don't
somebody
say
like you guys?
You need a security guy to help you with
So
some
even
of that
though all
stuff.
the resources are available, but they're not going to tell you the right mix of whatever you have to use.
They're out there, but it just takes a lot of research, right? So that's
And most small business people don't have the expertise or the time to research it,
that's
right?
my point.
Yeah. So that's why,
kind of like why we're in business, right?
right? And of course, a startup incubator like this, your security around here, I happen to know that it's very good, and you should preach that as well, and I'm sure you do, to the companies that come here, that hey, that should be something Brian and I were talking about. That should be a lesson plan of part of starting your business is cybersecurity and understanding it. And again, we're not all experts, right? I mean, we're trying to start a business. We don't have time for that.
Well, when you go to incorporate your
You mean
business,
you are experts, but not
We are
the
experts.
I'm saying,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was using me as,
But I mean, when you go to start your business, I mean, who do you get the advice from? You go to an attorney, right? You get your LLC or your C corp or that kind of stuff, because that's what they do. It's no different with security, and it's even more important to me because I think that you misclassified your C corp or your S corp. Okay, that's one thing, but when again you're on the front page news because you've been collecting data on
But
customers,
especially
and,
if your intellectual property got stolen, then
and that's the
your
worst
whole
thing.
business is
And
stolen, pretty much.
there are people outside of our country who try to steal very high value intellectual property all the time from local companies. I mean,
That's
I can't use no, but
yeah,
there are
that's the
some
biggest
local
problem.
companies that have some very valuable intellectual property, and they are attacked daily of people from outside the country trying to get that information, right? So if you don't know how to respond to that, or you don't know what you're doing to protect that, or you don't, and when we talk about our next podcast, insider threats, that's another thing that policies have to.
I think
have to
that
come
leads
in
right
and
into
talk about.
one of the things too is that I said it before, but most small businesses can't afford an IT staff,
Right.
So they have to search out an expert, and they're typically not experts in IT. But that's exactly why they're targets as well, right? Hackers know that,
Right.
I mean, hackers attacked the HVAC company that was the subcontractor to Target to get to Target. So a small 4-person shop
It's
was,
always
was
the,
an easier
the,
target.
The
So
weakest
that's
link.
why that happens.
And so, some words of advice I think we can give to startups as you're starting to build out your companies, as you're starting to collect data and things like that. This is probably one of the best things. I love the idea of red teaming. There's a book called Red Team. It's a great read. But you have to think like an attacker. You have to think like an asshole. I know you're very good at that, but
Are you pointing at Peter?
I'm pointing
Oh,
at my
sorry.
buddy over there because he's one of the guys who I think thinks like I do. If you have to think of those worst case scenarios, you have to think what could someone do if they had this, or if they got this data, if they got into this system. What's the worst thing that can happen, and build your security program around that. Build for that worst case scenario because it's going to happen, right? So if everybody gets into a startup, gets into it for one reason, mostly, right? You want to make money, right? You want to build that startup up.
I wanted
you want
to meet women.
Oh,
So I started my company.
you
I thought
started
we
a
were
data
taking a poll.
recovery company. To
I
meet
thought this
women?
was like the Microsoft question. I thought we were taking
Here,
a poll.
just take a drink and another beer.
Sorry.
You don't
All
start
right.
data recovery companies and meet women. It just
I didn't know that at the time.
Anyways, so you have to think like the adversaries, right? So you have to play those worst case scenarios in your head, play them out on paper, work them out with your team, and play that devil's advocate role. I mean, I think it's probably one of the most important things before you start, crunching out code and that kind of stuff. I think you really need to do that kind of stuff. I love this. I know this is hard to see, and I apologize, but the SANS Institute puts out a thing called the 20 Critical Security Controls. We use this in assessments. I think it's freaking awesome. This is a newer version. I think the older version is actually even better. Here's the deal, and I'm going to give you the God's honest truth. If someone really wants to get into your stuff, you're not going to stop them. Given enough time and money, there's nothing you're going to do to keep someone out, right? But there is a cost to that person who's trying to attack you, no matter who they are. There's a cost in time, there's a cost in effort, and when that cost gets to be so high that it's not worth the data that you have, they're going to stop. They're going to stop trying to attack you, right? So if you can do things to harden yourself to be a hard enough target that it's just difficult enough to make them go away, you're doing a damn good job, right? Again, if you said, hey, listen, there's no budget, you can get as many people as you want. You can spend as much money as you want, but the end goal is I want you in this network. Sign me up. We'll get it done, right? It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. It may take a long time. It may not be worth what you're going to get, but we're going to get in. There's just the attack vectors are too big. But that's not reality, right? So that's not what really happens out there. There's a cost to these attackers to get into your stuff. If you could do all 20 of these, which is not easy, I'm not saying this is the easiest thing to implement, but if you could start down the road of doing these 20, you make yourself a very, very difficult target. Not impossible, but very, very difficult. And that difficult level will make you a much less viable target than somebody who's much easier, because there's a billion companies out there, and there's going to be someone out there who just hadn't done that, right? I know that this is usually the time where someone needs to call a company like ours, right? But I can't stress that enough. We go through these 20 controls with our clients all the time, and we're always finding things that we can always improve on. But I think it's a great measure. It's public information. Use it. I mean, that kind of stuff, especially in a startup. If you can hit the ground running, knowing about these things and designing your systems around stuff like this, it's only going to add to the valuation of your company, right? So when it comes time to sell, and they say, well, hey, what's your security plan? You whip out some shit like this they've never seen before, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. And the next part we'll talk about.
Or you could do what Yahoo did and just hide it.
Yeah, hide it and wait for it to come out and lose $2 billion, right?
Sure. Yeah.
The last part of it is testing it, right? So I'm a huge believer in testing your controls. It's great to say you have them. It's great you think they work. Hire a pen tester, hire a red team, and let them test it. If you think it's good, let the red team out on it, and let them prove that it's not, right?
What's your favorite saying? You can't grade your own homework. Right?
Can't grade your own homework. Yeah, we use that a lot, and that may have came from that red team book, I think. But
oh, you stole it. I've been using it
I
as
stole
yours.
Everything ain't mine. But yeah, it's the truth is that, even for us, we look for outside help to help secure our stuff, right? To look at our stuff. I ask guys all the time to hey, what do you think about this? It's impossible to grade your own homework, right? When you're building your systems, you think you're doing a great job, right? Yeah, and then maybe next time go around, next iterations, well, we didn't really implement that the way we wanted to, but it's okay for now. We'll get it next time, and then rinse and repeat, and all of a sudden you got this great system, but it's chock full of security holes. But you think it's the best thing since sliced bread because you did it, right? You need that second set of eyes. You need someone who's going to think critically about your stuff, and you need to test those controls. So you need to have, to me, the best things you can do for your startup is think of security as a pyramid. You think about, okay, I'm going to have policies and procedures that guide my security program. The middle part of that pyramid is going to be the technical controls we put in place to stop attackers, and the base of that pyramid is testing those controls and getting better every time. And that's something you need to do, and you need to do from day one. And if you document that kind of stuff, I think it just adds value to the company. We talk to a lot of companies, larger companies, go, well, we want to acquire someone, but we're iffy about their security. Can you come do an assessment? And that's usually not a good day for the company we're assessing. Right, so when we come back with our report and I go, yeah, let's look what we got into, and we didn't have any information. That's usually it's not a fun day, right? And it's unfortunate, but they need to use that information to get better. So if you take that upon yourself in your startup, right, to say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to test, I'm going to embrace this control and testing philosophy to get better every time, you're going to be leaps and bounds above your competition, right?
Agreed.
All right. And we're right at the money, so that's all I got. And I think that's all I got. I only had a few slides.
I was so enthralled by your slides. You just
I like that.
You took a lot of effort on those graphics. So what? Summing it up. So
the things you need to do. Again, I think if you're starting a business, think about security as a triangle. I think that's the best thing. Policies, security controls, testing. The three tenets of having a good security program. If you don't know what you're doing, you need help, call us up. I mean, we're happy to work with just about anybody, right? I mean,
almost anybody. Oh boy, here he comes.
Maybe not Brian, but
probably need to turn him on.
I do need to turn him on like that.
Just one last question. So if a startup wants to actually hire you guys and work these policies out and actually create some very pragmatic recommendations, what kind of price tag are they looking at? Because for startups, this is always very important. So if they say, okay, this is the price tag, then it doesn't matter how much it's going to be protecting us. We just cannot afford it.
Right,
so
right.
what's the deal?
And it depends on the size. So I mean, it really depends on the size of the company.
Startups,
and so
yeah.
startup depends. I mean, I work with some companies that
Yeah,
are startup
I get
companies
that, yeah.
that are
So the average
500
startup,
employees,
the
right? So
average startup.
so average startup, we
10 people average
when
kind
it's the infrastructure is small, it could be as little as $1,500.
Okay.
Right, so it's not a huge investment. Larger companies, more stuff. I have customers here, so I can't discuss
And how
price.
frequent do
100%.
they need to update it?
Annually. To
Annually.
me, it's an annual thing. We're required to do our policies by
Do you have
by
an annual
policy
plan
annually.
on that as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
About-
And training's part of it too. So when you use our services, part of what you're going to get is training. It might be one-on-one with just your IT person or whoever you appoint to be that, or it might be if it's 10 people in a startup. It's going to be. We really want to train the end users,
Yeah.
right? We really want to train the folks who are the ones who are clicking the
So they
phishing
don't
emails.
click on a stupid email.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
it just
really who you
happens.
gotta
I
get
mean,
to.
everybody says that. Oh, I won't click on a stupid email until they're spearphished, right? And then you click because it just.
I haven't
it's
clicked on
happened.
one of yours yet.
You know what? And so here's the deal.
I have not clicked on one
and
of yours yet.
I'm going to give you some props. When we're doing our phishing assessments, I test the emails on John. I just send them to him, and just to see if he'll click on it. And he'll come back to me. He says, "Holy shit, Greg! I got the best phishing email ever. You got to check this thing out." I'm like, "Yeah, Dick, I sent it to you."
The ones
But
I've
he's
come-
never ever
No,
clicked on
I come
one.
close on the porn ones. I come
Yeah,
close to clicking
yeah.
those. The Russian wife one he sent me, I showed Brian that one today.
So-
I almost clicked on that one.
But we're a big believer in education, and I'm gonna throw a quick plug in for us right here. So we're like
It's
the
our
shirt we have on.
podcast.
It's our podcast. We're gonna do it. Our offices are right down the road here on Henry Street.
That way.
It is that way. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I'm
okay.
turned
You've
around.
had
I'm
half a bottle
down that son of a
of
bitch real soon.
beer.
But we're opening the Cyber Training Center, and we're going to be doing a few things out of that facility. It's going to be fun. We're going to be offering end user awareness type training, right? So overview training. It's going to be inexpensive. Those type of classes. Come in, get trained. You'll be able to. We're going to go through things like phishing and spear phishing and social engineering and all that kind of stuff. Dark web. We have listed about 12 classes we'll be putting up on the website pretty soon. And then we're going to do some higher level training, right? So one of the things we have to do with IT teams is teach them incident response. So we have a lab. I have about a terabyte of malware. We're going to tear loose and let them understand what certain malware does, how to find that badness on your network, how to get rid of it, how to run through an incident response plan for some of those higher level trainings. So we'll have a kind of a live fire range there. It's a cool space, and we'll hope to. I'm a big believer in education. The problem with security, even though we talk very technically, it's not a technology problem. The problem with security is a people problem. It 100% is. It's got to start with people. And when we talk about our next podcast, you'll see even more of that. But the problem is people have to get educated. They have to understand what they're doing. They have to take responsibility for what they're doing, and they have to understand what they're doing can cause damage.
And the simple thing, even and this applies for startups. One of the things that Greg and I preach is if you're an end user and you click on the Meet the Russian Bride email, and it does a pop up, and go tell your IT staff.
Right.
Go tell somebody. See something, say something. It's trademarked by the government, but
I'm using it in the next one.
Oh yeah, we can't.
Well, I am. No, I am. It's in there.
Well, we can't. It's trademarked by the government. I saw it the other day.
All right. Well.
But see something, say something, and it's the same thing applies for this. If you do something, then say something. Just tell the IT staff. You're not going to get, well, at least not at CPR Tools, you're not going to get fired for it. You're actually probably going to be commended for going up and saying, look, I was stupid. I clicked on this. I thought it was really an email from the CFO asking me the question, and it turns out it wasn't. And that's what people need to do. Don't be afraid to stand up and say, I did this.
The faster you can respond, I mean, like, again, we're getting towards the end, but real quick, I mean, the Verizon data breach report.
Why is it when I have good things to say, we're at the end?
I'm
But
just
you
saying.
can talk for 4 hours and we're
that's
okay.
the way it is.
Oh, no, John, we have lots of time.
Because I have control.
We're at the
of the
Rocket
knowledge,
Lounge.
The Verizon data breach report basically says it takes about 200 plus days for someone to detect a breach in their network. So 200 days. That's a long time.
You just did that right in the mic.
I know. I did it. All right. That's too much time. That's way too much time.
We don't know about the Cellbrite hack. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I don't know.
900 gigabytes of data. I mean, that's just
How do you not see a
massive.
terabyte of data leaving your network?
No,
But
I mean, well, they did it in the evening. Yeah, and they did it in the evening, too.
But being able to detect, and the detection is not just technology; it's people too. So one of our financial institution clients had the same problem. We've done trainings, we fished their users, but they had a user that clicked on an email, and it popped up a screen and went away. And the first thing she did is pick up the phone and call their IT department. It's like, hey, I did something stupid. You know,
we taught her that. Not to do something stupid, but to tell her.
And I clicked on this email. I thought it was for me. This is what happened, and they ran their instant response immediately, and nothing. I mean, luckily we were able to keep the breach. It wasn't even a breach. It just one computer got popped. Wow, is that a fart or something?
I don't know what that was.
Oh, wow.
He's over there with 3 beers in front of him.
A moose fart.
And now
or
he's
something.
making
Anyway.
sounds. Yeah,
So
that's weird.
Again,
I thought it was her, actually, so that's... At least it was him. That's good.
Education is key, so that's what we're going to
All right.
get educated. So
Hey, well,
until next time.
as always, you did a fantastic job.
I like to talk.
Damn it. He never says you did a good job, too, John.
Well, you were rubbing my leg on the
All right,
table,
well, we'll
so
talk to you
did
next
just
time.
fine. So,
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.